Hi, my name is Vesna Karapetrova, and we're here today at Canadian Macedonian Place on February the 10th, 2015, to interview Mr. Mike Trenton for the Canadian Macedonian Historical Society. Welcome, Mike. Thank you so much for coming here at Canadian Macedonian Place to share some of your experiences, and it's wonderful because we'll have it for the Canadian Macedonian Archives for the Canadian Macedonian Historical Society.
My pleasure, and it's an honor to be submitted as a candidate for this interview. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much, Vesna.
It's our pleasure. Let's begin with Mike. Where and when were you born?
I was born in Toronto, King and Niagara area. It's no longer, the house is no longer there, but my father had a hotel on the corner of King and Niagara. It was called a Broadway Hotel, like a rooming house.
And when was that?
That was back in the 20s, and I was born in 32 there, but he had a hotel for a certain period of time, late 20s.
In late 20s.
Late
and this
20s.
was your father?
My father.
Okay, great. And what is, do you have any brothers and sisters?
I have one brother, two sisters. My older sister was Alina. She passed away at the young age of 68. And sister Sophie, who passed away at 73. And my brother, a World War II veteran, just passed away this past October.
Bog da ги прости. Where were your brothers and sisters born?
Well, all my family was born in Toronto.
They were all born
in the Toronto area.
And how about your parents? You mentioned your father. Can you tell us a little bit
Absolutely.
about where they were born?
Vasil, my dear father, was born in the old country. He was sent over to Canada through his grandfather. The Balkan Wars were about to start, and he left. And with the result, he landed in New York. He stayed there for a short period of time, then came into Toronto and stayed there.
Right now, your father is from what village?
Zhelevo.
Zhelevo.
Yeah.
And what language did your father speak?
He spoke multi-languages. He spoke Macedonian, he spoke everything, because he was a multifaceted individual. He was well-read, well-educated as such. And
so he came from Zhelevo to
actually New York and to Toronto.
New York and then Toronto.
Yeah.
At about what time?
1904, I understand.
1904. Do you know how old he was when he came?
He was with 15.
15.
How's that?
Did he come by himself or
That
with
one
the
I'm
group?
not familiar with. I don't know. I really don't know.
Okay. And then tell us a little bit about his life when he first started.
When
he
he
came to Toronto.
When he first started in Toronto, I understand he worked for a steel factory. A steel factory. These were like the sweatshops in those days for the immigrants.
Yes.
And he had an injury, eye injury to his one eye, a piece of steel. Then he went and worked at General Steelwares. That was over Gerrard and River. A lot of Macedonian people worked at that same particular place. And then he progressed into opening a self-serve groceria on Queen Street. And then
It was a grocery store?
A grocery store.
Okay. Do you know what it was called?
I forget.
No. Okay.
And then he opened the Columbia restaurant, just on the north side of Queen, just east of Oslington Avenue. They're right across from the mental hospital there.
Okay. Now, your father is from Zhelevo, and he came as a very young man, a teenager, like 15.
That's right.
And did he speak, Mike, about his life in the village to you?
Yes, he did. You know, not as much, because here's a man who get up at 7 o'clock in the morning, come back home at 9 o'clock at night. Those are long hours for a man. So to sit down and talk about the village, it was not really there. I heard from other people, that type of thing. It's
anything that you can recollect about his storytelling of the village?
Storytelling of the village? No, I forget those things now. It's been so long, you know. I forget. Yeah.
Right. Now, you mentioned your father, and how about your mother?
My mother, well, my father came over early, went back, married mother, and she came back here on 1920, August 1920.
So your father went back to Zhelevo?
That's right.
And met your mother?
Yeah, married it, and they come back over here.
And what is her name?
Her name is Christina.
Christina.
Yeah, her maiden name was Linzakis.
And she was also from Zhelevo?
From Zhelevo, yes. Yeah.
Okay, and then how about your grandparents?
I didn't know them at all. Didn't know them at all.
They have They were in Zhelevo?
They were all in Zhelevo type
So
of
they
thing.
didn't come over?
No, they stayed over there. It's one of those difficult times. It was World War I, Depression times. It was very difficult.
Okay.
So I never had any grandparents.
Yes, I understand. And when you were growing up as a boy in Toronto here, tell us about your early years.
My early years, well, I attended John Fisher Public School. It's up in Erskine Avenue in North Toronto, and close to the restaurant. We had a restaurant at Yonge and Briar Hill. It was called Trenton Grill.
Right.
Originally R100. That was the days when the Graf Zeppelins, those balloonists, R100 was one of those so-called balloons. So they changed name after that. It was a family restaurant. My father brought the two brothers over, and it was a 24-hour operation there.
So the two brothers were your uncles that came from Zhelevo? What were their names?
Norman and John. Now John is the father of Louis Trenton, who is also a World War II veteran, who received the French Legion of Honor.
Well, that's quite amazing, yes. And here we have a picture, Mike, of when you were young. Can you tell us where that picture is?
That was taken at Sega Beach. Those days, my father never drove a car, never had a car, never drove a car. So with the result, the milkman who serviced the restaurant would drive us up there, and we stayed for a week. He picked us up on the way back. It was quite very, very generous of the milkman.
And you were just
This was what, 6, 7 years old, I guess. Yeah.
Yes. And how was your home life? What language did you speak at that time? With your mom, with your
Macedonian
dad?
only, from my mother, but she didn't speak. She spoke very little English. My father was very fluent. He spoke a number of languages,
But the first language you learned at home?
Was Macedonian, yeah.
And when you went to school, did you speak
No.
any English?
All English.
You spoke.
I was in an English neighborhood.
Right. And did you speak English when you went to kindergarten first, or did you have to learn?
English? No. I picked up English.
You picked it up. But at home you spoke.
That's right. Yeah, with the mother. Yeah. Yeah.
Where did you live at that time?
Up in Erskine Avenue, North Toronto, north of Eglinton and Mount Pleasant. There's a Mount Hope Cemetery. So just 16 doors away.
Right.
We used to play hide and seek in that area.
Were there any Macedonian
Not in that
kids?
area.
Not in that area?
No.
Okay. And then, Mike, tell us about your life as you were growing up. You went
went to Northern Vocational after that. That was a trade school. And I left school early because my brother was in a wholesale restaurant bread business. So he was ready to go on into the restaurant business. So he said, "Oh, Mike, here's ready-made business for you. Come on and work for General Bakeries for me." And I took over the restaurant route from him. I was about 17, I guess it was at the time. But there was a developing situation. Those days it was tough to get a job, and hey, I had something waiting for me.
That was very lucky, wasn't it?
I'm very fortunate.
And then, as you were growing up, Mike, what was your connection with the Macedonian community? How were you
basically
involved?
through the dances and different parties. Like there's a Zhelevo Hall out there in St. Clair on Old Western Road. That was the main hall there for a lot of people. There's a good Macedonian community in that area.
Yes.
And we take the St. Clair car from Eglinton, Mount Pleasant, right out to the very end, and we go to a lot of functions there.
What kind of functions did they have?
Well, there were dances, that type of thing. And there were a lot of weddings. Most of the weddings took place there. So it was easy for us to get to it, but my father never drove a car.
Yes, so you would go with the bus.
Yeah, streetcar, yeah. It was streetcar all the way. It was quite nice.
And did you end up having a lot of friends there and relatives?
Oh, a lot of relatives. A lot of relatives, yeah. The mother and father took me everywhere, with them type of thing. Yeah.
Right. And then as you mentioned that you went into the bread business,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Was that a factory? Can you tell us where you worked?
What was it? 21 Carr Street. That was Queen and Bathurst area. There was General Bakeries. I had a wholesale restaurant out at the downtown Yonge Street. A lot of Macedonian people were very kind and very generous and provided bread for their business.
So you were selling bread to Macedonian restaurants?
That's right. Yeah.
And
very successful.
That was very good connection you made with the Macedonian community.
It was early hours, 4 o'clock in the morning. It was like six, sometimes 6.5 days.
Right.
These people phoning on Sunday were running out of bread. Would you mind picking up some bread and bringing it down to us? So it was tiring. A young fellow going through, and so I looked further on, and an opportunity arose at Labatts Brewery. So.
Okay,
went
tell
there.
us about Labatt Brewery.
Labatt Berries, we keep people in good spirits.
Okay.
I'm very, very fortunate. As a youngster, 21, you had to be 21 to work for a brewery. And I started in what you call a brew house. A wash house. That's where wooden barrels, we fill up wooden barrels with beer. I used to test the wooden barrels. I used to take them along, I used to fill them up, kick them out, load them up on the trucks. I did that for a period of time. And then I went into carbonating, where they carbonated. It was a full experience for me. Carbonating beer. Mm-hmm. I went into the brew house, where I became a kettleman. I used to brew beer one time, 5,000 gallons at a time. That was very interesting. So it was Michael's batch, Michael's brew.
Okay.
I was very, very fortunate.
Okay.
So then after that, an opportunity to go out, drive truck for Labatts, and I drove home delivery for about 9 years, and then I drove transport, tractor trailer, for another 3-4 years, and the opportunity came up in sales. So I went over to the sales, and that's where my career, so-called, started on the upswing.
And
very fortunate.
That's great. So when did you get into the sales?
And it's 1970.
1970.
Yeah.
And then how did you connect with the Macedonian community through Labatts?
Well, through Labatts, and a lot of Macedonian people were involved in the restaurant business, in the tavern business. And that's how I get to know a lot of quality people who were very kind and very generous to me.
Do you remember any particularly that stand out, restaurants, businesses that you dealt with?
There's so many people. If I mention one, I'll be disciplined by not mentioning the other. So don't worry about yourself, no problem.
Yes.
But there's so many good people in that business.
So by this time you were you married by this time?
No, I got married in 1957. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's it. And then the family started.
Right.
I met in Fran's restaurant New Year's Eve. Mm-hmm. This is my wife here, and this is yours truly. This is my sister Sophie and my father Vasil. Mm-hmm. So this was my brother-in-law's restaurant. He's over Woodbine and Danforth. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Great. So you met your wife and you were in Labatts.
That's right.
Starting having a really good success in your career there, and then your family as well.
That's right. Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah. And here's one of the sporting situations years ago.
Now this is a picture of you.
That's right.
Yes. Tell us about it.
Now that picture there. This was 1980 when the Montreal Canadiens, playing at the Toronto Maple Leafs, in a charity hockey game. Mm-hmm. It was a sellout situation. I was a practice goalie for them. And this is when the Toronto Sun came out. I was on the bench, took my picture. They thought I was Marv Edwards. Marv Edwards could not make it. But he took my picture, thought it was Marvelous Marv, so I get a big kick out of that one. I'm very fortunate.
Now, Mike, as you were very busy with your career, with your family, but you also had, like you mentioned, the hockey interest.
That's right.
Right?
Yes.
Yes. Now, can you tell us how that developed, how your interest in hockey started, and then your involvement in the leagues?
This is a way of life. We started in East York, the area there. We won a city championship 1964-65. And I got to know a few.
How old were you then?
64, 65. I was 30-some-odd years old, I guess.
But before then, did you have an interest in hockey?
Oh, yeah, always. We played hockey. It was the Canadian way. The Canadian way. We just played hockey every chance we could. Always ice rinks. And
so you were amateur leagues?
That's right, yeah.
You were in amateur leagues?
Yeah. Then it progressed. I had the pleasure of meeting a lot of the NHL players, and Harry Watson was a great friend, a great friend of Labatt. And with the result, and Sid Smith, who used to work for Labatt, they were short a goaltender, and they asked me if I would come out and play with them. I said, "Wow, what an exciting situation this is!" And sure enough, I started with them, and I played with them over 35 years. Charity games, all over Ontario. Mm-hmm. I was very, very fortunate.
So the people on this league are quite good. They're
professional, all professional.
They're all professional, and you were invited.
That past picture was that was part of it. See, there's that was taken in Newfoundland. That picture.
Yes.
And 11 of those fellows have passed away. Mm-hmm. There was full roster there.
Right. So you started to play more seriously with this league?
Absolutely.
Charity events?
It was charity events. So this was charity, no league, but just charity events. Moved from city to city. It was smaller towns type of thing. I'll tell you a story about Gordie Howe. In Georgetown, we played the Georgetown Old Timers. There's an annual event. And Detroit Old Timers came in to play the Toronto Old Timers. And I played goal for the Toronto Maple Leaf Old Timers. And I was very fortunate. Mm-hmm. And Gordie Howe scored a goal on me. Gordie Howe, the known Gordie Howe.
Yes.
I took the puck out of the net, gave it to the trainer, keep this for me. You get the other way around.
Right.
He's a great gentleman, Gordie Howe. Just a
Yeah.
wonderful one.
Wow, that's
man,
quite
too.
amazing
Yeah.
experience.
I've had great, so invaluable experience. Very,
Right.
very fortunate, yeah.
Yes. And what was the league called that that you played with for 35 years?
Oh, there's no league.
No.
There's no league. Just that we practice once a week. Then Friday or Saturday there'd be charity games type of thing. So that's what we do.
So made up of professionals.
Same professional. Oh yeah. We practice once a week. Then we go out and play hockey wherever Friday or Saturday night and that type of thing.
Right.
There's no league. It
No
was just
league.
no.
Right. And how about your son? I understand this is a very, very special picture.
Well, this is I'll tell you what. My job entailed working with the Toronto Blue Jays, and I still do.
Okay.
It's my 23rd year with the Toronto Blue Jays as a liaison between Labatts and the Blue Jays. And that was a picture of Joe Carter and Jimmy Key. So there's the two known quality. One's a Hall of Famer, the other one was close to it. So in the beer business, you get to meet a lot of quality people. And,
Right.
And with the result, working out of the ballpark there at where the Argonauts played, I started getting involved with the Toronto Argonaut alumni. And with the result, they let me privileged to be an honorary member type of thing, certificate of recognition. The
Yes.
Toronto Argonauts. I'm very, very fortunate. I still deal with them. I go with them first week in January. It's their golf tournament, and I attend that, and I'm very, very fortunate. Very fortunate.
All right. This is quite an honor to have a certificate of recognition.
Yes, it is. It is. So it's been a fantastic life for me. I've lived a good life and a lot of good friends. You know.
And with the Argonauts, what was your involvement?
Basically, looking after some of the needs there, provide beverage for the individuals. That was part of it. You know, through Labatts, we were very generous to them. You know. So it's a good association with them. I've traveled the Great Cup with them. I've traveled out west with them. You know, very, very fortunate.
Yes, and your association with Labatts and meeting great people.
That's been the bond. See.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
how did that transfer with the Macedonian community? Your involvement.
Well,
I understand you were quite involved in the Canadian Macedonian place.
Yes. Well, with Labatts, we made a very generous donation when it first opened up. Through Van Petrov, God rest his soul, a great Macedonian, and John Bidoff. These people were very instrumental in having this place, you know, move upward and onward. And our company made a sizable donation. I made that donation years ago before it opened.
This was with Labatts.
With Labatts, that's right. They were very generous, yeah.
And did your contact continue with Canadian Macedonian
Oh, yeah.
place?
Every year I'm at the golf tournament. My son comes along now, too, so it's quite nice. I get a chance to meet all the old cronies, all the old boys in the business who are all retired now. All the old goats, you know.
Right. And tell us about your brother Alex.
My brother Alex I took him to Holland in 2005. That was the 50th year? Was it 50th year, 2005? 50th year of the liberation of Holland ceremonies.
Yes.
See, basically he was in Hollywood. He was in the 5th Armored Div. He was a tank gunner. And he went all through Holland. And we went back there for the liberation of Holland ceremonies. We applied to a government organization that we paid for the trip type of thing. And they organized the scheduling here, there, everywhere. But it was really experienced, my brother. He really enjoyed it. Visiting places that he had gone through, you know,
Yes.
courtesy of the Canadian government, you know, in a tank.
Right. Now, when he went to the war,
Right.
this was the World War II.
That's right.
Do you remember?
Absolutely. I can remember his number. Trooper Trenton, B115267. I used to write letters to him in a very thin blue tissue. This was the airmail type of thing. This is the kind of papers you wrote on.
Yes.
And remember, I had to write this B115267, you know. And wherever it was, he received that so-called letter. And I was
Now-
a kid then.
Right. Were there many Macedonian young men like your brother who went
yeah.
with him?
Oh, yes. Well, my cousin Louis, as I mentioned, he's a Legion of Honor award winner. And I'll tell you what, he was one of, there was a number of other fellows, yeah, that went over there. But I can't remember who's who now type of thing.
Right. But your brother had some other Macedonian.
No, not really.
No?
No, just and they were separate. Like my cousin Louis was in the infantry, My brother is in the Armored Division, so it was a different situation. They didn't meet at all.
But they all got conscripted and...
Well, no, they went.
They went voluntarily?
Volunteer. Oh, yeah.
Everybody volunteered,
Oh, yeah. Our family volunteered. We're warriors from way back, soldiers way back in the village.
Yes.
Because apparently my grandfather was a policeman there, what have you, and what have you. He was the judge and jury or something in the old days, what they used to do with the people who stole cows or stole pigs.
He was the judge of Zhelevo.
Judge and jury. Yeah.
Okay, and then so you remember, like you have a good recollection of those times when your brother went and.
Oh yeah, we
war?
drove. No, oh yeah, we drove through Holland, places he had visited. But in 50 years or 60 years, where the time element is, nothing, everything's changed. The only place he recognized was where, I forget the name of the town now. We stopped there and he said the only place he recognized is a schoolhouse where they built the soldiers. And this is the German headquarters. He has the flag from the German headquarters. He captured that and he gave it to the Halliburton Legion. That's where he had his cottage. So
right. And your brother was in the war for quite a few years?
Oh yeah, he was still occupational forces after the war. He didn't come until 46. Yeah, the war ended in 45.
Right. Tell us about the Olympics. And your brother.
That was eventful. I'm very fortunate through contacts. I picked up 2 good tickets. They were center of the stadium at the Olympics. We went there just for the openings. We went we flew to the village. Flew to Thessalonica.
Yes,
Solon. From Amsterdam, Solon, and then we went to the village for a couple of days. And we stayed in the new house that my relatives had built there because they had a lot of earthquakes there. And with the result that, tell me a story after, the house I stayed in 69, the week after the whole side of the wall came down.
Yes, what Olympics year was this?
2004.
2004. And I know that there was also an Olympic year as well, 1969. Can we talk about that?
No, that wasn't Olympic. That was the time I visited.
That was your first time that you visited the village?
That's right.
Okay,
That's right.
Tell us about that experience.
That was through the Slovenia Sports Club. And after we had finished our hockey tour, we went all through Yugoslavia.
So this is again with your involvement with the charity hockey?
No, not the charity. This is a different group, Slovenia Sports Club.
So you were involved with that?
Yeah, and we came into the village. And this was just after was it the military, the junta?
Yes, 1969 would be.
Yeah.
Yes.
And my uncle told me, there's a General Murtzu, and there was a doctor and a teacher. And this was my connections in Solon. And with the result, I went to them, and they said, you take the teacher, you're going to go up to the village. The teacher was, you require a military pass to get into the village. It was a NATO base at the time. And so
Zhelevo was a NATO base at the time.
At the time.
Of the junta.
So, yeah, with that. And with the result, I went through there to get through the teacher, and the soldier Bigla, he came out of his post, took his rifle, he says, no pass, can't get through type of thing, So the teacher was disappointed. Meanwhile, we go back to the hotel. I had 2 of my hockey buddies I was traveling with. They left. Meanwhile, next day, Tanis, my cousin, comes in the village. The captain of the junta, I guess it was, they were staying in one of his houses. So when we come to the Bigla, the soldier was a salute as we went back and went through and then visited
the family. Bigla, was that?
Bigla, that was on top of the mountain there.
That was Bigla the mountain, yes?
Yeah, that was a snow area, a ski area.
Yes.
Yeah, as I went up there, and that's where the sentry was, the outpost was there before. We had to go down in the valley.
Before you could go in the village, you had to get
right.
entrance permission, okay?
Yeah.
And then when you went to the village with your cousin, Tanas, what were your impressions?
I could see my mother's sister. She said she's ill in bed. She heard her nephews coming in. She is running down the path. Oh, but that was, very emotional. Yeah, very emotional. Yeah.
And you saw your aunt then for the first time?
Yeah, first time. Oh, yeah. They'd never seen anyone from Canada. I was the first one to so-called visit.
That's very emotional. Did you meet any cousins?
Yes. My mother's sister was there and other cousins. Oh, yeah, I met them all.
And what language did you speak
Macedonian.
together?
Macedonian, yeah. They spoke Macedonian. They spoke some Greek, but Macedonian is still the prevalent language, you know.
Between the family
The
and...
family, yeah. Well, that's the only language I understood.
Yes.
I could speak, so enough to get by.
Enough to get by. Yeah. And then, did you have a look around the village? What did you think about it?
I walked through it. I said, you know, I guess it was that time, '69, was there 500 people at the village at the time? I said, well, it's just, you know, it's just country, you know. And I visited my father's site, but they burned the house down. The Albanians who come through the mountains would come through there, and they stay in the house, an abandoned house, and they start a fire in the middle of the room to keep warm. Then they leave in the morning, the fire was still there, and with the result, the house was gone.
The house was gone.
Yeah. It was up on top of the hill, you know, there. Yeah, they were I guess they were the village owners type of thing. They owned most of the land, all the sheep land and what have
Your
you,
family?
grazing. Yeah.
They were quite farmers, well off?
Yeah. And they had a little coffee shop in the corner. That's the only place you can sell cigarettes. So they're very popular. And there was a fountain. I remember a fountain just across the highway. That was ours. People drive through, stop, get their plastic jug containers, fill up with the water. Cold water, so cold and so beautiful and tasty. The minerals, excellent.
You tried it.
I did. Oh, excellent. Yeah.
It's good. Some Zhelevo water.
That's right. Beautiful.
Yes.
I want to ship it back here. You know.
Right. Do you know how your family had gathered the wealth? You mentioned they were quite wealthy with houses and they owned a lot.
Yeah. That one I don't know. It goes back, I guess, years ago with my grandfather being a judge and that type of thing.
Okay.
They acquired all this properties. They're quite wealthy. They own a lot of property there. Yeah.
Okay, and then you came back and you continued. That was in '69. You came back to Canada.
That's right.
And you continued your love for hockey.
Yeah, that's right. Oh yeah. Well, keep in shape, as you say. Athlete and the camaraderie. Camaraderie is very important, you know. So
yes.
A lot of good friends. I've retained those friendships over the period of years too. So it's quite nice.
Great. And then in 2004, you had a very special visit. Tell us about
the Olympics.
The Olympics and your brother.
Well, my brother and I, I took him to the village, and he was mesmerized. He thought it was only going to be a farmhouse, and that was it. But he was impressed by the village. But at that time, there was only about 100 people left in the village.
A lot of them had left.
Left, yeah. There's not much there for him, you know. But still, my cousin, he was I guess in a farming business, beans. They were growing beans there, and fully automated. And he was shipping it to Germany. Like Germany. I understand that the nectarines from Edessa.
Voden?
Voden,
yes.
Yeah. And that's where they were big, like grapefruits. They were beautiful. The Germans have picked it up. They wanted that all the time. So, so the beans were all bought and paid for, type of thing. So successful business.
These were your cousins.
Your cousin, yeah, Vasily, yeah.
Vasily,
Yeah. He married an Albanian girl. He had 3 children, yeah.
Yes. Now, tell us about your connection with the Olympics at that time.
My connection?
In 2004.
No real connection, not business-wise, but just that I wanted to see the Olympics. It was the 100th year, it was an anniversary, and I says, my brother was reaching age, I said, hey, we got to go.
Okay.
We got to go. So with the result, I went to a friend of mine who knew somebody at the Bank of Greece, and we got some good quality seats, but they were expensive. $1,500 a seat, so, but we don't... $1,500.
Okay, a seat.
So I says, my brother, this is my gift to you. We're going to enjoy this. And we did.
And then you made
opening ceremonies. Opening ceremonies were outstanding. Like a TV camera can only give you so much. They focus on certain areas. But when you're down there, your vision is just broadened right through. It
was very special for you having been in sports for a lot of your
then we
activities.
Left. We left after that and went to the airport. Because we were take a flight back to Amsterdam, you know.
Right.
That's all I wanted to see was the opening ceremony. Nothing else appealed to me at the time. So.
Yes. And then you took the opportunity to go to Zhelevo with your brother.
Yeah, before the Olympics, that's right.
Before the Olympics.
Yeah, and then we went down to Crete. Went to Crete and Santorini. You know, actually, I had him. That was before. I took him to Paris. When I took him to Paris, that was during the Holland trip. That was something else again. My brother was taking pictures. He was a great camera bug. And he says, I got to take a picture of the Eiffel Tower. I said, Brother Alex, we're on the Eiffel Tower. Is that what I told you?
Oh, that's very funny, yes. Now, Mike, can you tell us a little bit about your other involvement in the Macedonian community in terms of when you were growing up? What did you go to any particular church?
No, not really. Churches were downtown, and those younger days, and something about church. I married in an Anglican church, and with the result, I never went to church. I played hockey every Sunday morning. Mm-hmm. I played hockey, so my church days were not there.
Right.
But my wife was such. She was very, very but religious, but she couldn't go to church because she didn't drive, and I was the only one to drive. So.
Right, but you went to Zhelevo. You went to the Zhelevo Hall.
Yeah, that's
for
right.
Your
For any community events. Yeah, and also
Mm-hmm.
So my parents took me to those places when I was younger.
Great.
But after we get older, teenager, hey, you go up in the 20s, other things you can do.
Yes, absolutely. And let's talk a little bit about any other activities that you were doing, like you continued to work.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I kept in the athletic area. Kept active there. Played minor baseball in the area. Played for different parks down at Moss Park. I played at Dieppe Park. I played at
also baseball as well as hockey.
Oh yeah, so I enjoyed those. It kept me useful. Again, meeting a lot of good quality individuals. Yeah. And all good beer drinking individuals. Help my business too.
Did you have any communication or contact with the Macedonian Hockey League?
Oh, yes, I was involved with that. Oh yeah.
Tell us about that involvement.
Oh, was it Tommy? There were 6 teams in that league. My son played for them. There were 6 teams.
Tom Dimov?
Tom Dimov, yeah, he was the president. Yeah. And I worked with Tom, and we provided awards for them at the end of the season. Labatts, it was nice. And different things. It was quite nice to be involved with them. I went to see a number of the games. My son played there.
Yes, and your son's name?
Michael.
Michael, and Michael played in
one of the Macedonian teams now.
Right.
But Chris Stamkos was a good friend of his. That's Steve Stamkos is the father.
Yes. Now, in 1985, there was an all-star Macedonian Hockey League.
That's right.
And tell us about what happened then.
Oh, that one? Gee, we had, who did? Well, we had Bill Purcell was one of the coaches. Bill Purcell is a Hall of Famer at York University. He also coached in the Detroit system. Was going to be the Detroit coach, but got what can we say, overturned by someone else. He didn't make it. But he was going to be the next Detroit coach. And then there was Vern Buffy, who was a referee.
These were in the Macedonian?
No, they're not. Purcell's a PEI from Prince Edward Island. He's also Hall of Fame at Prince Edward Island.
Right.
And Vern Buffy was a National Hockey League referee. They were the 2 coaches.
And they coached the
Macedonian team.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Right from 1985?
Yeah. Well, 85 when they went over there, yeah.
So then the team went over to Macedonia.
That's right.
And you went as well?
I went with my wife, yes.
Okay, tell us about that trip.
That trip was outstanding. I'll tell you, when you played, some of the events were outdoors, some were indoors. And the way you're well received by our people, the Macedonian people, they're just outstanding. In fact, I went to Skopje, and Skopje, they opened a casino up for us, especially for our guys. They shouldn't have opened up because a couple of guys who were good gamblers, we come back with, we'll come back with money. We made some money in Skopje. We traveled all through there.
How long were you there with the team?
Was that a 10-day or 2-week? I just forget. Back 85, it's, I think it was 2 weeks. It got to be 10 days or 2 weeks. We played 6 games.
Right, and who did you play with?
Against the local teams there.
With the Macedonian teams?
Macedonian and Yugoslavian teams. We all through Skopje. We're in Skopje. We went to Tivoli Gardens, Ljubljana. We went all through Yugoslavia. I forget the name of the arenas now.
So you played with different teams in the different republics
different
at
cities.
that time?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you went to Macedonia and you played with the Macedonians?
Yeah, that's right, in Skopje.
That must have been exciting.
It was. Yeah, it was.
Now, did you play in outdoor arenas or indoors? Some
were outdoors. Skopje was outdoors.
Yes, I think they made a special one for you.
So when I played in '69 in Belgrade, they throw snowballs at you.
Really? That's funny.
Oh, it was very interesting, but it was an eventful trip, though. A lot of good people, and those Macedonian kids, hockey teams, though they were down to earth, they're just solid, and the camaraderie they developed, the experience, just you can't buy that.
And your son had the opportunity?
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
Did his Macedonian improve?
No, he doesn't speak Macedonian, but his mother was an Englandlander. God bless her. She was Newfoundlander, so she only spoke English. That's
right.
The Macedonian. The kids didn't learn Macedonian because I was never at home. Is when hours were awkward, and I never spoke Macedonian because we're in an English neighborhood and what have you. It's difficult,
But your son did see Macedonia, and he met some nice friends. I bet.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. In fact, the boys are very generous. Left a lot of their equipment over there with the Macedonian team.
That's wonderful.
The sticks and shin pads and some skates and what have you. So they're very generous that way. Yeah.
That's great. And has the team continued? Do you know about the Macedonian?
I don't know if it's still alive or not. I just lost track of it. I just don't know now. I know Tommy Dim was instrumental in keeping it going for a long, long time. So I've lost track of them.
I heard that they actually have a girls' team now.
They do?
Yes.
Good for them.
And
Good.
I think they also have a boys' team as well.
Oh, where are they playing out? Do you know? I just don't know. Seneca College? It used to be Seneca College. Have they changed location?
I'm not exactly sure of the location, but I know that around Christmas time they have several games.
Okay, good. I'd like to hear more about it. I'll find out more about it. I may attend some of those.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Did you play or your son on all-star teams?
Oh, my son, no.
Tell us about your son.
My son is, what can we say, Centennial College. He was our goaltender was Centennial College. He played out in tournaments out in Western Canada. He was in business for himself. He worked for, I'm very proud of him.
Your son's name?
Michael.
Michael?
Very proud of him. He worked for L'Oreal Cosmetics. He was the interior sales director for L'Oreal Cosmetics. Then he got tired of the corporate world and bought a Boston Pizza up in Newmarket. So we still have a Boston Pizza market in Boston Pizza in Newmarket. Pardon me. And but my son got it up a couple of years ago. So he's sort of working a leisure way of life now. He works for Magna Golf Club now.
Oh, okay.
Where our good friend Chris Vasiliev is a member.
So he has a chance to mix business and pleasure.
Absolutely. So it's a fun job for him, something to do. Yeah.
Great.
I'm very proud of him. And he's handled his aunt, who was recently just dementia slowly setting in for her, and he looked after relocating her, making all the arrangements at the retirement home. And I stick my chest out with pride. I said, "Boy, that job well done."
There's a really good sense of family.
Absolutely.
Family and love and
that's right. Yeah.
It's a very Macedonian character, isn't it?
It is. Oh, I think of my mother. She used to get up. When I used to get up 4 o'clock in the morning, she'd be up. She'd make me an egg sandwich or something before I would work for General Bakeries. The so-called touch is there. That warm home. There's something about looking after your family. Family is so important.
Great. And talking about your family, tell us about your wife and your whole family here. How you told us you got married in
1957. My wife was a Newfoundlander. Her father,
her name?
Audrey. And Petite was her maiden name. And they were originally from Newfoundland. And her father was a general merchant down there. He had fishing boats down there, what have you. But ill health in the 40s, he came up here. Because the professional doctors were here in Toronto area, but he retired at a young age, in mid-40s. So he was a well-to-do man, can we say?
Okay.
Yeah. And so with the result, we carried on and met, and a Newfoundlander girl and that whole Newfoundlander style of people. They're to me like Macedonian people.
A lot of similarities?
Oh, absolutely.
How so?
Warm. They're very warm. Doors are open. Come on in. Out comes a glass of whiskey. Thank you very much. And what can we say? They're compassionate people. Yeah. So we're very fortunate. We have two good blood strains there, Macedonia and Newfoundland. So.
Yes. And then tell us about your kids.
My kids. Well, Michael was the first one born, and he's now 50 some odd years of age. Then we had Michelle. Unfortunately, she was killed in a car accident.
Oh, sorry.
21 years of age. And that was a disaster for my wife. That's what brought her down. Her dementia, that so-called senility. I'm sure we feel that's what brought her down.
It's a big loss.
Oh, big loss. Then we have Maria, who's just like her mother. God bless her. She carries on her mother traits. She's got the laugh and everything else, and just fun-loving, outgoing. And then it's Melissa. Melissa's still. She has a beautiful farm up there in 34-acre farm up there was Thornton area, just west of 27. Not outside the river, runs by in the back there. She got the beach and everything else, so she's very comfortable. She's one that has Boston pizza, so interested in Boston pizza, but she will be getting out soon because her family's young. She has 7 and 5-year-olds, so it's difficult for her to, the hours they got to keep, close Friday, close Sunday.
And those are your grandchildren? Tell us who they are.
Grandchildren, my son had twins. Twins, one works for Bank of Montreal, Jessica. She's done well. She got married, 2 years ago, to a nice young fellow. I'm very proud of him, too. Elliot, he's a firefighter in Vaughan area. Then I have another, Caitlin, who's my other granddaughter, the twin. She's out in Western Canada now. She works for WestJet. It's a very fortunate situation. She looks after her grandfather. I get the buddy system in the flights.
Yes.
Reduced flights.
Yes.
So I'm very fortunate.
That's wonderful.
I travel to Florida in March.
Yeah.
It's after my flight situation. She's a delightful, bubbly girl. And then we have my daughter Maria had triplets. So we have Hannah, delightful, personality galore. Then we have 2 soccer players. The other 2 are soccer players. We got Olivia and Mackenzie.
They love sports like their grandfather,
that's
right?
I like to think so. Well, again, the people you meet, it's sort of like, it's a quality of life, the people you meet, and you carry on that friendship for years to come. That's something that's very important in life. It completes the cycle of life. And then my daughter has Matteo, my only grandson. Matteo plays hockey, started when he was 4 years of age. And then, who else we got? And then there's Faith. Faith now was into modeling. She's a delightful. She was on the cover of Parent magazine many years ago, so she's a delightful little girl too. So I'm very pleased. I'm very fortunate. I'm very fortunate with my family.
Yes, I was going to ask you about what you're proud of in terms of
just
your
the house is there and the way of life. There's no trouble in the family. There's no drugs and that type of thing. I'm very, very fortunate. So I guess my wife did a good job.
Yes, and you had a lot of involvement with the community as well, Macedonian community. You helped a lot.
Well, I've donated over a period of years, on myself, by myself, and what have you. And in commitments, like at the Macedonian golf tournament, I make sure there's through the Toronto Blue Jay Baseball Club. They're very fortunate. I pick up an autographed baseball and bat, which is one year I think I picked up $2,500 for those 2 items. Which is
for the auction.
For the auction, so it worked out well.
So you're continuing to help.
Oh yes,
in the Macedonian
I'm very
community
fortunate,
and
whatever
your love for sports.
That's right. A combination of things. But the people I knew here, sort of, they're lovely. Like Zlatka upstairs is a delight. She. Yeah.
Now, Mike, you've been you're born in Canada,
right?
Of Macedonian family, and a lot of younger kids are going to be watching this video who are also born in Canada, also have our Macedonian background. What kind of advice do you have for them in terms of being successful and having a good life?
Common sense is so important. Being a person of your word is number one. Integrity in life. It takes you a long, long way. To be trusted in life. And I've been very fortunate. The integrity is there, and it's carried me through my career. I've been very fortunate to have a job like I have now. 82 years of age. What can I say? Be a man of your word. That's all. Common sense. And hey, love for your family. Respect for your family. Most important.
И нещо на македонски да кажеш за нашите?
Не знам къде,
на здравие да имат?
На здравие, не знам къде зачем знаеш.
Како шо можеш?
So familije, tatko i majko, svičko, dobre, не знам как речем с българска.
За фамилията да имат добра фамилия?
Добра фамилия, so това, знаеш, very, very important. So това, знаеш, priority.
Да, това е много important во македонските фамилии, да биде фамилията много strong. Да. Това е. Майк, много ти благодариме за ова интервю.
My pleasure. My pleasure. And I thank you for the honor. It's Anything going to help with the Macedonian community, I'm always close as the phone.
Thank you, Mike Spolaiti.
Spolaiti.
I se najubavo ti poželujeme.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you.